If bulletproof reliability and low cost of ownership is the only thing being considered at this point in your car shopping endeavor, the best value is now. What's up, YouTube? Drew here, and you are with this 2003 to 2008 Corolla and this second gen Prius, this 2004 to 2009. For you subscribers, first of all, thank you for being here. I love you guys. I can't believe there's well over 5,000 of you. There's, by the time of filming, probably 1 million views, almost all of them on my Prius videos. I'm a major fan of these cars, but this is something that's been on my heart for a while to talk to you guys about. And while I still love and will always love and always view the second generation Prius as probably the best car ever made, what I want to talk to you guys about today is which of these two cars. This is another absolutely amazing car. We're going to give you a lot of facts about these as well, because there's not too much content on my channel about them. Which of these two is the better value? Now, there is no short answer. And over the last maybe 5 years, less and less of my quick answer would be for the second generation Prius, and more of that has been pointing to the Corolla. And the purpose of this video today is to let you subscribers and I guess you random viewers officially know that I have more of a reason basically to recommend this over this. Now, that doesn't mean that this isn't the better car. That doesn't mean that I don't still recommend this to a lot of people, and that doesn't mean that I wouldn't still buy one of these myself. But, you know, forced to give a 2-second answer if somebody says, you know, gun to my head, Drew, what's the best car for $5,000? Sorry. So we're going to dive into a little bit about why today. You know, but the gist of it comes down to miles per dollar. You know, my job, for those of you who don't know, is I bring affordable cars, keyword affordable, up from the south to Rochester, New York. This is one of the rustiest areas on the planet. Here in Buffalo, we get 2,100 hours of sunshine per year. It is literally gray all of December, January, February, and we get 120 inches of snow per year. Combine that with the insane, you know, property taxes and sales tax we have, and the money the highway department has to salt our roads to keep them clear when there's no sun and there's tons of snow, you get an insane amount of rust. So my job is to bring these cars up from the south and in from the coast where they don't have the rust as an affordable solution to people, and I've always done that. With the economy the way it is right now, it's more important than ever that people can find, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 cars that aren't rusted out and complete junk. And for the longest time, again, my answer was, this is the car you got to buy. If you buy this car and you take care of it, you could drive it for 10 years. That's still true. But what it takes to take care of this car and what it takes to take care of this car and keep them on the road is unfortunately no longer, it's kind of like this. So we're going to dive into a little bit more about why. I hope I've grabbed your attention. If I have, it's not too soon to like this video. It's not too soon to subscribe. Stay with me, and I'm going to explain to you basically how to decide which one of these is better for you, and why my short answer is probably this one. Stay tuned. So a big portion of why I've shifted my, you know, quick opinion to the Corolla is what's going on under the hood. Now let's go over here first. This is an absolute masterpiece. This engine, it's called a 1NZ FXE. You would have known it as the 1NZ just plain FE in cars like the Toyota Echo, the Scion XB, you international folks, quite a few more. And in the United States, you know, those I named are the famous cars that have this bulletproof, though unrefined engine. It's modified in here for use in a hybrid, and that's with the Atkinson cycle head, which is ideal for use in a setup like this, where instead of an automatic transmission, it has what's called a power split device. It's important to note this is not a CVT. And by the way, this is the inverter. It's underneath that. It's not a CVT in the sense that it has conical pulleys and a belt like a Nissan. It has the spirit of CVT in that it doesn't have fixed gear ratios, but it's not a mechanical thing so much as it has 2 electric motor generators, so MG, motor generator 1, motor generator 2, and a planetary gear. Motor generator 1 acts as a high-powered starter to kick this guy on and off as a motor, and as a generator, when this runs and turns motor generator 1 as a generator, it generates electricity through the inverter to the battery and back, of course. And then there is motor generator 2, which moves the car, as well as acts as a generator when you press the brakes. stick a pin there, press the brakes. Think about that. Hold that in your head for a second. And when you press the brakes, and it doesn't need brake pads on the disc and shoes on the drums in the back, it uses the resistance from motor generator 2 to put electricity back through the inverter to the battery. That's called regenerative braking. There is a lot going on here. Now, you should know these inverters, bulletproof. These power split devices, the transmission, they could be had for $100 on eBay. Why? There's a huge supply. There's dead Priuses, crashed Priuses, so they make it onto the shelves of parts places, but they don't get sold because they never break. This is a good thing. But the other part of this system is, of course, the battery in the trunk. And that's the most common question. A little bit more about what I do. I've well over 150 of these cars, and people ask me all the time, how long does the battery last? And, there's, it should last, the blah, blah, blah. There's the kind of should answers, but that's like, holding a puppy and saying, how long is this puppy going to live? I mean, if it's a black lab, it should last, 8, 10 years, whatever. You get my point. There is no absolute set answer, but it is the most common question I get asked. And I always tell people, folks, it doesn't matter how long it's going to last. What you should know is that it's about a $500 rebuild, or you can get a new one from Toyota for $2,000. On a complicated car, I'm trying to see if I've got one here. Oh, I like my Toyota Tundra right there. That's my shop truck. You guys who are subscribers, you know that truck. My summer shop truck. An alternator job, I'll throw the link in the description. Why not? I have a video that shows you how to save like an hour changing your alternator. Save an hour. So an alternator job on a truck like that's probably $1,000 in this economy. So for half the price, these cars don't have an alternator. It's all done in the inverter. That's where the 220 or whatever volts, I forget off the top of my head, there's basically 7 to 9 volt cells, 28 of them, that add up to, like I said, about 220, 240 volts. This acts as an alternator. Basically, a computer and an inverter acts as an alternator. That battery is not particularly expensive, but it will, if you're on a vacation or if you use this car for work, you are getting towed and you are down for a couple days. That's just the nature of it. That's kind of the gist of what goes on in here, but there's more. The brake booster, which is right down inside there, which is part of the problem. It's basically when you press the brakes, you're telling the car you want to stop. But the car needs to decide if it's going to use motor generator 2 or if it's actually going to squeeze brake pads. And for a computer to be able to do that, it can't rely on your foot. So what it does is it builds pressure with an electric motor, kind of like an ABS pump, in what's called an accumulator, and then that pressure's there for when the computer decides to use the brake pads. Well, when that goes bad, you've got to swing the inverter out of the way. Check the description. Eventually, I'll put some videos in there where I've, given tips on how to do this job if you want to. But you've got to move the inverter out of the way. It's absolutely massive. The used part, which might end up having the same problem, is over $500. A new one's over $1,500. And, I wouldn't do this job on a Southern car with no rust for less than $1,000. It's just absolute torture. It's something I would avoid. When I get these cars that need one of those boosters, which thankfully has not been often, I absolutely cringe, and I make sure I bring that car in cheap enough to pay myself for my time and my torture to do that job. And it's, could a DIYer do it? Yes, but goodness gracious, you better be confident. I always say in my videos, and I mean it, if I could do it, you could do it. I wasn't born with an ASC certification. I've been running a car dealership for 5 years. I've been working on cars for 21, and I still don't have one, and I do just fine. I wasn't born that way, though. That's most of it comes from, I guess, being forced to be determined to get the job done. But so that's just two things that can go wrong and absolutely wreck all of your savings from your gas. One other thing that can go wrong is the gas tank, which I obviously can't show you, but it sits back in here on kind of underneath the back seat. Well, it has a rubber bladder in it that gets hard over time and stops allowing you to put in gas. There's a video I'm linking in the description that explains that at great length. But the short story is, a new gas tanks, I can't even imagine, it's well over $1,000. They don't make, at the time of filming, an aftermarket one anymore. And if you can't put gas in a car, you're in a really big pickle. So here we've got a car that offers 10 miles to the gallon more than this one. and it has these massively expensive potential issues. So coming over here, this has the absolutely bulletproof. This is the 1ZZ FE 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. It's pretty darn close to perfect. That transmission, I think it's like an A245, whatever. It's the 4-speed automatic they've used forever. It's absolutely bulletproof. You know, speaking of alternators, you see how easy it would be to change that. It's right there. Everything is really easy, and parts are dirt cheap. This Corolla, it's the best-selling car in the world. They made millions of these. It's the E110, E120. They're designed to be really quick and easy to put together, basically. And because of their simplicity, the obsession is simplicity here. They're easy to work on, and because of how many were made, parts are dirt cheap. A very common issue in these Corollas, one of the most common issues, is the intake manifold gasket. It's a plastic intake manifold, and you can see that nut down in there. I've got a video in the description on how to change it. It's a $6.50 part. That's a Felpro part, and the world agrees that that's, you know, good enough. You don't need the Toyota one. In fact, I have a little bit of evidence in my video that the Felpro might just be a Reeboks Toyota. No promise, but the Felpro, you know, even in the newer Prius, the head gasket issue, the 2010 to 2015, most people trust the Felpro gasket. So for a $6 gasket, you could solve some pretty serious issues, but just stupid bulletproof. Stupid bulletproof. Now, let's talk about some of the reasons that the Prius is better. Well, this gets 35 highway, this gets 45 highway. This thing gets, I think, 48 city, and is an absolute pleasure. I mean, pleasure to drive. I don't care if you own a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Porsche, whatever you've got, maybe a Bentley. You get stuck in traffic and you just keep feeling that automatic transmission fight you first, second, back, first, second, back, first, second, back, or you've got a stick and you got to shift. There is nothing as nice as a Prius, because you're sitting there in the air conditioning and you've got basically what feels like an electric car. These don't shift. The engine doesn't go wah, wah. It doesn't bang back and forth between gears when you're stuck in stop and go traffic. It's just smooth. If I was forced to give one word for how I view the second generation Prius, and believe me, I've had a lot of time to think about this, it's peaceful. It's a very peaceful car to drive. It's powerful enough to drive in any modern traffic, to pull out onto highways and things like that. It's powerful enough, obviously, you know, like I love the V8 in my Tundra, but just the peaceful feeling of driving this, where, you know, and getting that better mileage. The Corolla, where it's a bit of a downside, is, you know, you're dealing with a 4-speed automatic. There's a limited, these have like, I think 126 horsepower. These are rated, it's all over the place. It depends on who you ask. But I can tell you, it feels a lot smoother in this. This is wah, wah, you know what I mean? And not so nice in traffic. But again, just there's so much less that can go wrong. So this is a good point to kind of step back and say, you know, so who would I recommend this car to? You know, gas mileage is 35 and 45 miles to the gallon. That's both really good. If you've only got $5,000 to spend at the time of filming, that's maybe a $6,000 car. This is maybe about a $5,500 car. You know, it's important to keep in mind those figures are at this moment. It's very sad. I sold one of these December 23rd, 2019. If you account for the years gone by, it would be like selling a 2011 model today, and I sold it for $1,950 with 172K on it. Just crazy where our economy's gone. It's sad. But again, at the time of filming, that's what these are worth. And for somebody, you know, they've mustered up the $5,500. You know, they drive maybe 10,000 miles a year and they cannot afford repairs. It makes more sense for that person to spend money on gas. You know, these Corollas are just absolutely, positively, they're extremely well built. I still think that's a better car, but at 20 years old, you know, when something does break, and it's going to, you know, if you're driving, say, you know, 40,000, 50,000 miles a year, I have one customer drives 120,000 miles a year as a courier. The 45 miles per gallon is going to pay for every single repair that this thing could cost you. You could put an engine in it, you could put a gas tank, a battery, all of it. And that 45 miles per gallon, it's going to make it worth it. But on this car, you know, somebody that only has $5,000, or whatever it is at the time of filming, there's a pretty good chance that that's all this car is going to cost you. Now, I'm not sitting here giving you false hope that you're going to buy either one of these cars, not these specific VINs, not the ones in front of you in this video or anyone out there like it, and the unexpected's not going to happen. That's part of the deal when you're buying a 20-year-old car. But let's face it, if we were looking at a Chevy Cavalier and a Ford Escort, I mean, yeah, I'm sure they have their fans out there, but the reality is they're not driving around at 20 years old with 400,000 miles on them like these cars are. So yeah, that's the gist of it. This is definitely the better value for somebody that wants something simple, that does not have the funds to deal with the bigger issues of this. This is the better value for somebody that drives a whole lot. This is the nicer car for somebody that, can in good sound mind say, well, I'll take the risk for the more expensive repairs if they're going to happen, knowing these are bulletproof and they usually don't break. And I want that peaceful driving car. This is the better choice. So now let's take a look at some things that are just a little bit more, kind of practical and more tangible. This car, super, super cool inside. You can control the entire car from the steering wheel. Driving these cars is going to do nothing because I can feel. You guys you only have sight and sound right now. I have taste, smell, and touch. Every Prius smells funny, by the way. It's the high voltage battery pack in the trunk that vents right there. That's where it sucks air in anyways. In theory, it blows it out of the car, but you smell it. It smells like the Apple store. For those of you who have never been in a Prius, but you've been in an Apple store or like the computer section at Best Buy, it kind of smells like that. Most of these have a backup camera. 2004 and 5, a lot of them did not have backup cameras, but you've got control over the entire temperature on the steering wheel. Every one of these is going to have power windows and power locks. Just, and they're a little bit more roomy. Actually quite a bit more roomy in the back for the rear passenger, and they are insanely smooth. Again, you're not going to be able to feel that in a video, so I'm not going to take you for a ride at this time. The big thing, big thing about these Priuses, or these is when you open the trunk and you push these seats down, the things that you could fit in these cars. I'm going to take this bar out of here for you, if I can, with one hand. There we go. What you can fit in these cars. There's people that camp in these cars. In Japan, they made this fiberglass shell that went, like, you took the hatch off, put it on the back, and it went up and over the top of the car. They made campers out of these. Again, I have a courier customer that uses these he's brought race car engines. He brought a motorcycle in one. I've seen hot water tanks in these, dressers. They are stupidly versatile. When I went to get a set of winter tires for my Tundra, actually, you know what? I'm going to show you those because they're sitting over here. I don't drive the truck in the winter very often, but I bought these in case I do. Look at those. Those are 18-inch rims, but they upgraded to 35-inch tires. 4 35-inch tires, and I took a second-generation Prius to go get them. This is my winter truck, by the way, in case you're curious, and why the Tundra doesn't get driven in the snow. But so instead of taking my truck and getting 8 miles, 10 miles, whatever to the gallon that it actually gets in real life, I took a Prius to go down to the Pennsylvania border and get those. Insanely versatile cars and so pleasant to drive. Now let's look at the Corolla. Much more utilitarian inside. This is a CE model, so it's some of these actually came with crank windows. We have one in stock right now. No power locks, all that jazz. But they have a height adjustable seat, which is good. I've got a customer that's about 6'4", just bought one of these cars. No controls on the steering wheel. This one doesn't even have cruise control. They all came with a decent radio. Toyota's always been kind of generous on their radios. Most of them had air conditioning, though all of them did not. And it's just your typical early 2000s, kind of with a little bit leftover 90s vibe. A little bit less room in the back, as you can see there. And just kind of a normal car for the era. Of course, I realize it's 2024 and normal is dead. But the trunk, pretty darn good for a, for a sedan. We're going to push the seat down and give you an idea of being able to put things through the pass-through. Both sides go down. So, from a practicality standpoint, an absolutely wonderful car for what it is. It's not going to give you the versatility of the Prius. It's not going to give you the space and all of that. And it's not going to give you that, super harmony, super peaceful ride So back to the original statement, and I appreciate you very much if you stuck with me this far, and I really hope you subscribe to the channel. I really hope you give this video a like. Back to the original question, which one of these cars is a better value? The question, no matter how many times you ask it, is still complicated. If we are looking at overall bottom line cost for somebody who drives average mileage, that is, 12,000, 15,000 miles a year, the gas mileage savings on a 2004 to 2009 Prius, which is 10 miles to the gallon, at this point, at the time of filming, early August 2024, been working with these cars since they were new. I can tell you the problems that they're showing up with, the problems that are happening randomly, have multiplied by about 3 in the last 12 months. They're getting old. They're 20 years old now. The 10 mile per gallon difference for the average driver that is not willing to pay extra for how smooth and how technically advanced and how peaceful they are to drive and how much cargo space they have. If bulletproof reliability and low cost of ownership is the only thing being considered at this point in your car shopping, endeavor, and you drive average mileage, 10, 12, 15,000 miles a year, the best value is now the 2003 to 2008 Corolla. And again, the reason for that is if all you care about is that lowest cost, there is very, very little that can go wrong here. Parts are dirt cheap. You can get a radiator, I think, for this car for under $40. It's like $120 for this. The hybrid battery, this doesn't have one. Obviously this has an alternator and that's $100. This doesn't have one, but I'll spare you diving way back down every single rabbit hole. This has less parts that can break, and every part in this car is dirt cheap. I'm inclined to say at least 95% of the parts in this car that could go wrong are cheaper than the parts in this car that can. So officially, and I cannot believe I'm saying this on this YouTube channel because the only reason it exists, the only reason it's popular is because you subscribers have loved the Prius videos. But the best value at this time, around that $5,000 price point, is the 2003 to 2008 Toyota Corolla. I hope you guys don't unsubscribe. I hope you don't hate me right now because I love you guys. I appreciate you being here. But for the average driver that's on a tight budget, that cannot afford expensive repairs, 10 miles per gallon doesn't justify taking on a car that is inevitably going to have them. So the best value, 2003 to 2008 Corolla. Now, for you couriers, you Uber drivers, well, they're kind of aging these out, but, delivery drivers, medical cabs, people that, like me, I would still choose this car because, I do a lot of zipping around in congested areas and I can fix it. This would still be my choice. But for those of you that just drive an insane amount of miles or don't mind the little bit of extra money on maintenance or can fix it yourself, this is still the better car. Better value, better car. So listen, I'm Drew. I really hope I didn't ruffle any feathers too bad, but I've got to share the truth with you guys about these cars. That's the whole point of this channel, helping you fix them, helping you keep them on the road, and giving you the truth from my experience every day, which is dozens and dozens of both of these cars every year. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. You're still always going to see content about these cars. I love these cars. These are my favorite cars to work with. They always have been. They probably always will be. Both of these cars are almost old enough to be legal to import from Japan, so you're going to see a lot of low mileage Generation 2 Prius. You're going to see station wagon, stick shift, diesel, right-hand drive Corollas. You're going to see a lot on this channel, so I hope you subscribe to it. And again, if this video was helpful at all in your decision to pick the best car to get for your particular situation, I'd be grateful if you'd give the video a like. So again, I'm Drew. God bless you. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye.